Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, I found some interesting Raiders roster rumors from Vincent Bonsignore. He is a writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and he titled his article, Raiders 53-man roster projection, how offense stacks up after OTA. So what I really wanted to be able to do is just go through that article and break down some of the more interesting rumors that I thought Bonsignore threw out there. So what I developed here is 5 big storylines from Bonsignore's article, because I am also somebody that likes to break down a 53-man. And if you haven't seen my most recent 53-man that I released on Monday, you need to go check it out. So the first thing that we're going to talk about here is Bonsignore is projecting that the Las Vegas Raiders keep Zamir White. I get it. It's still very early in the offseason process, but I am somebody that looks at this Raiders roster, and I don't really think that Zamir White, Zeus, is going to end up making the squad. In terms of Bonsignore, he ended up that the Raiders are going to go out, keep Zeus, cut Dylan Laube, and out of the running backs that are on this roster, they're going to keep Ashton, Jeanty, no surprises there, Raheem, Mostert, Zeus, Sincere, McCormick. I am a believer that Pete Carroll and John Spytek in this regime is going to end up keeping only 4 running backs, and I think that you only keep 4 backs because of how confident you are in Jeanty. But Bonsignore had this to say on his philosophy and his mindset on the Raiders keeping 4 running backs. There will be competition for snaps behind him. Him is Jeanty, as Mostert and McCormick have been productive when given opportunities in the NFL. White also reported the OTAs and minicamp in great shape after a disappointing season. Laube, a 2024 6th-round pick, is likely to be on the roster bubble and may need to shine on special teams to earn a spot. He says that Laube might need to, shine on special teams. I feel like in my mind, Zamir White needs to shine on special teams if he has any chance of making this team. He also needs to be able to show that he's got ability in the passing game. Because when I think of the style of running back that Jeanty is, there's not a single thing that I think Zamir White does that Jeanty doesn't already do. At least with a guy like Laube, he does offer you a little bit of special teams ability. I think he can catch the football better than Zeus as well. But then also, Zamir needs to hang on to the football. Because you can't be a bruiser power running back and constantly put the ball on the turf. And last season, he put the ball on the ground multiple times, and he's had 3 fumbles and 186 career carries. I would say right now there is a 40% chance that Zamir White makes this roster. I know he showed up to camp in good shape. I know that he's lost a lot of weight because he wants to try to be a little bit quicker, and he wants to try to fit a little bit more of that Chip Kelly offense. But in my opinion, I would say 40% chance that Zeus makes this roster. One of the things that I always predicate people when they watch this show, don't get me wrong, we're going to sit up here, we're going to have a fun time. If you're watching a live show, we're definitely going to have a fun time. But also subscribing to the Raiders Report is going to make you a smarter fan, because like me, I'll go through and I'll look at things and I'll pick up things very quickly. Why? Because nobody makes more Raiders videos and content than I do. And if you were looking at this Vincent Bonsignore article, one of the quotes that Bonsignore put in there was this: Smith has given the Raiders a level of stability at quarterback they haven't had since Derek Carr left following the 2022 season. He will give the offense a much higher floor next year. O'Connell should be a solid backup. The Raiders will look to develop Miller, a rookie 7th-round pick out of North Dakota State. If you read that quote and things don't, obviously you're like, well, wait a minute, that's not right, you're probably not subscribed to this channel. And I know there's a lot of people that make a lot of content. Vincent Bonsignore literally covers the Raiders, but here's the thing. Cam Miller, he was a 6th-round pick, not a 7th-round pick. I know that it's a minor detail, but the type of Raiders fan that I am, if I'm watching a video in June, I want to know that I'm going to become a smarter Raiders fan. So I promise you this, you will not be able to become a smarter Raiders fan unless you're subscribed to this show. Well, I say that, but then again, I just want you to tune in. I want you to have a good time. And if you're watching in June, we're going to make sure that we accomplish all those things. Let's go to the next interesting rumor here that I saw from Benny B. And we're going to kind of piggyback off of what I just mentioned here with Zamir White, because I thought the 2 most interesting things in that article was they're keeping Zeus, but they're going to move on and they're going to cut Dylan Laube. So one of the biggest reasons here why the Raiders, to me, would move on from Laube is that he also has had problems hanging onto the football. He was also drafted by a previous regime. Last season, 1 carry, 1 fumble. But then also you go look at what he did in the preseason. He put the ball on the ground as well. If he's not able to contribute on special teams, and if he's not able to do things that maybe Ashton Jeanty just isn't quite ready to do yet, then you could see maybe the Raiders going out and keeping a guy like Zamir White. I'll also throw out a name like Chris Collier, because I don't think Collier's going to outshine Laube. It's a possibility. But if the Raiders do decide to move on from the second rounder out of New Hampshire, it's going to cost them a minimum $39,000, not a lot of money there, and you're going to save $960K. I made my recent 53-man, and I ended up keeping Dylan Laube over Zamir White. But this show is not about me. I know, might surprise some of y'all. This show is about giving Raider Nation a voice. So I think when you really look at the running back room, to me, I'm keeping Sincere McCormick, I'm keeping Ashton Jeanty, and I'm going to keep Raheem Mostert. What's really difficult for me is this one right here. So pick one to keep. You're about to get it with the YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer. You're going to keep Dylan Laube or you're going to keep Zamir White? Please let me know. I'm going to end up keeping Dylan Laube, and I only say that because I think Laube is a better catcher of the football than Zamir White. I also think Dylan Laube offers you a little bit more flexibility on special teams. Those are the only two reasons. Do I think Zamir White could probably be a better NFL running back than Laube? Yeah, I do. But I need my running back 4. My running back 4 on this Raiders team needs to be able to help out in the passing game, and he needs to be able to help out on special teams because, quite frankly, I don't really want Dylan Laube to touch the ball in a game, just like I don't really want Zamir White to touch the ball in a game because we got a guy by the name of Ashton Jeanty and we got a guy by the name of Raheem Mostert. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to get into more Raiders roster rumors from Vincent Bonsignore from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, but I don't know about y'all. I live down here in Texas, and recently, as soon as I step outside, I'm like, why the hell did I even shower? It doesn't even make sense why I showered. But when you use the right deodorant, you're not going to have that feeling, which is why I'm really happy and excited to tell y'all about Mando, because my wedding, I think, is the perfect example of instantly getting drenched in sweat. It was 90 degrees in the Texas sun. The deodorant I trusted on my biggest day was Mando's Bourbon Leather. It's my wife's favorite, and I needed something to control my body odor for 72 hours. If you've been struggling with the heat and humidity like I have, I got great news for you. Mando has just launched something that takes sweat control to the next level. Introducing the Mando Deodorant Plus Sweat Control Solid Stick. It's double protection. Finally, you get the odor control you love with Mando plus powerful sweat control. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code CHAT at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support the Raiders Report. Tell them that we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness. And I'm somebody that I do sweat a lot. And I'm somebody that I like to get a good sweat in. I think that that's a very healthy thing to do. But because I sweat all the time, because I walk to work, the last thing that I want to do is when I wrap my arms around my wife, Alex, and tell her hello, I don't want her to be like, dude, what is going on underneath those armpits? I trust Mando, and I think that you guys are going to love them. Those links are going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. Let's see if I can catch one. No, I couldn't do it. All right, the next thing that we're going to get into here is some interesting Raiders rumors. The Silver and Black are going to end up keeping wide receiver Kyle Phillips. And if for anybody that watched the 53 roster video that I put out on Monday, I think one of the biggest difference makers was I ended up not keeping Phillips, and I ended up moving on from him so I could end up keeping extra players at other positions. According to Bonsignore, though, he thinks that the Raiders are going to end up keeping Phillips on this team, and he sees that the Raiders are going to end up carrying 6 wide receivers on this roster. I think we all know that Jacoby, Trey Tucker, Jack Bech, Dante Thornton Jr., Tommy Millott are 5 wide receivers that are going to make this team. It was a big question of whether or not, do you end up keeping a 6th receiver? I think the other part that is very interesting to what Bonsignore put in this article is he is projecting that Myers, Jack Bech, and Trey Tucker are the top 3 wide receivers. I think that that's interesting because when you look at a lot of the reports from Minicamp, from OTAs, it was Tucker and Dante Thornton and Myers were predominantly the starters, where Bech was working a little bit more with the second team. So maybe Bonsignore's thrown out there of like, hey, I understand that this is what the Raiders have been doing so far in Minicamp, but they drafted Bech to be that other guy, and Bonsignore still thinks that Besh is going to be that person. So in terms of why would the Raiders keep 6 wide receivers, the Raiders got a lot of different receivers into the mix during OTAs and minicamp. There should be plenty of opportunities for Besh, Thornton, and Tucker to stand out. Phillips and Johnson could battle for a spot if the Raiders decide to keep a 6th receiver, with special teams play being a potential tiebreaker. Now, to me, I think the only way that Phillips ends up making this squad is if the Raiders decide to keep 6 wide receivers. I don't think there's any shot in hell, not even just for Phillips, I don't think there's a shot in hell that there's another player on the Raiders that makes this squad if they keep 5. Now, obviously, if they trade a Trey Tucker, I don't think that that's going to happen because, to me, he was the biggest minicamp winner that they had. Also, if this is just a team that goes, well, it's a coin flip between this guy and a coin flip between this guy, and I don't know exactly who it's going to be, but if the Raiders go, I want to keep somebody that has that relationship, that knows what Chip Kelly's looking for, that knows what we're trying to preach and really just try to push for the future. Phillips knows that because of his relationship with Chip Kelly, first ever recruit from UCLA. But does Kyle Phillips provide special teams value? He's played on special teams in years past, but in all honesty, I think the Raiders have better special teams players than Kyle Phillips because all we would use him for, really, I think, is a gunner. Let's go to the next interesting Raiders rumor here from Vinny B. Dylan Parham is going to be the Raiders' starting left guard, and I agree with this statement. Really, when you see the report that Vinny put out there, he's expecting that the starting offensive line for the Raiders is Colt Miller, Dylan Parham, JPJ, Alex Kappa, and DJ Glaze, which realistically I don't think is any crazy hot take. Also, though, the players that he has making the cut for the Silver and Black, Jordan Meredith, Thayer Munford, who's been getting a lot of work at left guard also, Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant. He does throw in Lockie Tossie, who Tossie's going to make this squad on the practice squad, not on the active 53-man, but you can carry him on your practice squad. You can make it 17 players, so 91 total players essentially on the roster. But to me, one of the things that I was really curious about with Parham was because he missed that final day of practice at minicamp, is that going to be bad news for him? Because then also it was being reported that Munford was getting a lot of work there at left guard. Here's what Vinny had to say. One interesting development at minicamp was the amount of time Munford got at left guard. The 2022 7th-round pick out of Ohio State has been primarily a tackle in the NFL, though he did play guard in college. He could push Parham into training camp. Second-year pros, Jackson Powers, Johnson, DJ Glaze look settled at their spots. Kappa is coming off a down season in Cincinnati and will face competition for his spot from Meredith, which honestly I think is kind of interesting, who could play all over the line of scrimmage. Rookie 3rd-round picks Rodgers and Grant have looked comfortable so far and could get into the mix as well. I'll be transparent. I don't really think Grant or Rodgers really get into the mix unless there is an injury. But the fact that Meredith, to me, is working at right guard, I do think is very telling because I am so proud of this Raiders organization for putting Munford at left guard because I think that's honestly like where his best spot is, and anybody that watches this show knows that I've been begging the Raiders to put Munford at guard for quite some time. But to me, the way that Parham's going to start at left guard, it's number one if he could stay healthy. I think if he's healthy, he's going to be your starter. Can he hold off Meredith, who right now they're putting at right guard? Can he hold off there Munford, who If Munford can figure it out, and if he can prove to be healthy, and if the Raiders want to go a little bit more power instead of finesse, Munford really, I do think, could push somebody like Dylan Parham. But to me, at the end of the day, Kappa needs to be able to prove that he can play right guard, because if Kappa can't play right guard, I might just move Dylan Parham to right guard, and I might just keep Jordan Meredith at left guard, or I might just put Thayer Munford over there at left guard. Before I get into the final interesting rumor from the article from Bonsignore, one of the things that we've been doing here on the show is we're trying to always celebrate life, and I always want to be able to continue to bring up my guy Brandon Jasper. So today's Tuna's Top 5 question is this: what is your favorite fast food chain? Please let me know down below, and I'm just going to say this. To me, my mind, when Chugs and I have this argument when we're live, fast food, got to have a drive-thru. Got to have a drive-thru. I don't want anything that's not, if it doesn't have a drive-thru, to me, it's not a fast food chain restaurant. It's a whole nother discussion. My top 5, now hear me out. Chick-fil-A is the number 1 spot where I think I could eat that spot every single day. McDonald's I put on my top 5 because of their breakfast. I think they have the best breakfast around. Popeyes, I am a slut for a good spicy chicken sandwich from Popeyes. I think it's better than Cane's. Starbucks I put on here because my wife, Alex, loves the coffee. I'm a big Starbucks coffee fan as well. But if I'm picking, like, my top 5, I got to be able to mix and match a little bit, and I want some good coffee from Starbucks. And y'all are probably going to hate me. Quite frankly, I'm probably going to lose some subs for putting Whataburger on here. I'd rather have a Whataburger over In-N-Out. And some of you are like, well, I was in, and now I'm out on the Raiders Report. Let's go to the final rumor here on today's show, and it is that the Raiders are going to end up keeping 3 tight ends. And when I did my recent 53, man, this is kind of where I had my debate. I ended up not keeping Kyle Phillips, and I ended up keeping a 4th tight end. If you want to see which 4th tight end I ended up keeping, go check out that video. For Bonsignore, though, he has, Brock, Myers, Ian Thomas, very easy, ends up cutting the other 4 guys. To me, though, the reason why I decided to keep a 4th tight end is because the reports coming out that the Raiders plan to use 2 to 3 tight end sets this upcoming season. Bonsignore said Bowers looks like he's picking up right where he left off last season. His ceiling was sky high, especially with a better quarterback throwing him the ball in Smith. Mayer had an excellent offseason and could get more involved in the offense. Kelly and Carroll both praised Thomas, who have been an important role to the Raiders' plan using more 3 tight end sets next season. That opens the door for Shorter to make the team if the club wants some additional depth. Now, the name that Bonsignore brought up is Shorter. I'll be real. That's actually not the tight end that I had making this squad. I went a little different approach because of some of the reports that I heard from camp. But to me, the way that the Raiders are going to end up keeping 3 tight ends, because I believe they're going to keep 4 if I'm doing it right now. And I am doing this right now. And I say, though, the only way they're going to keep 3 is Michael Mayer's got to continue to show that he can be a legit number 2. We know what Brock Bauer is. Can Mayer prove that, hey, you got 2 of the best young tight ends in the NFL? If Mayer can prove that, I would sit here, the Raiders go, okay, we're going to be able to roll with 3 tight ends. Can Ian Thomas prove that he's going to be a good blocker and a reliable guy in the red zone? Or could you use other receivers if need be as a tight end? What do I mean? Could you use a Jack Besh? Could you use somebody like Jacoby Myers? Could you use somebody along the lines of, I don't know, insert name, if you needed another big guy in the red zone? I do think it's a possibility. Now, if you made it this far in the video, again, huge shout out to all of y'all. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on those notifications. A lot of updates throughout the entire offseason. And if you do not know, I am going to be live later on today, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, here on the Raiders Report.